There is a cemetery in Portugal that fascinates me. It is the Prazeres Cemetery, or Portuguese, Cemitério dos Prazeres. It's located in Lisbon, Portugal, and it's one of the largest cemeteries there. It was founded in 1833 after the outbreak of cholera there in that city, and what makes it especially intriguing is that it is exclusively made up of mausoleums. It was while studying the cemetery, possibly for a long-term future trip, that I happened upon this intriguing story of a serial killer who lived there almost 200 years ago. And here is his story. His name was Diogo Alves. He was born in Galicia, Spain, and his family, they were very wealthy. Unfortunately, when he was a little boy, he had a very bad accident. Now, Diogo was riding the family horse, and he lost his balance and he tumbled off. And tragically, he fell and he hit his head. He hit his head very hard. It took a long time to get better. But when he went back to school, the word had gotten around, and they made up a very cruel nickname for him. The kids were cruel. They started calling him pancada, which translates to blow, a blow to the head. When he finished school, he was 19 years old, and his parents, they sat him down. His father said, "Diogo, it's time for you to work for a living. You need to go to the big city. You go to Lisbon, and there you will do well." So they sent him off, and he went to Lisbon, Portugal. It didn't feel good. Diogo didn't feel right when he got there. There were so many people, they were crowding around. No one to watch over him. But he had no choice, and soon he adjusted. And then he thought to himself, well, maybe this is a good thing. I can do what I want. He did get a job, and he would write to his parents. He would write to them every week, and he was proud. He was proud of what he was doing, and his parents were proud of him. But then he was let go from his job. He got another job, and then he quit. And another, and another. Just couldn't seem to keep a job. And after all of these failings, he stopped writing home, and he began to drink. And then he tried to do some gambling. He liked it, and he would drink more, and he would go out more. He'd be out all night, and he would sleep all day. Well, one night, at the old inn, he met a woman named Maria Gertrudes. She happened to be the innkeeper. They would get along very well together. But Maria was trouble. She was not educated, she was foul-mouthed, she would steal, she would do bad things. She would be his partner in crime, he would be her partner in crime. They would do little thefts and little crimes, and their turbulent relationship inspired them to commit many more crimes, and eventually that would lead to actually robbing people. And then it would rob to killing one. And then they would kill more. They would do it for money, for whatever they could get off of them. They would get into the routine of robbing poor people who were just passing by, just passing through. And after the deed was done, he had this clever idea. He would blindfold them, and then he would walk them, he would lead them along, he would be holding their hand. He would walk them along, sometimes a long distance, but almost always to the same place, to the middle of a tall, tall bridge, a bridge that had no real railing. In the aqueduct, they wouldn't know it. He would say, "Okay, I'm going to let you go now." And he would turn them to face the open space at the edge of the aqueduct, right at the edge. And before they could give it another thought, he would nudge them right over the edge, and they would free fall from a height of some 200 feet, 60 meters from the top, splat into the rocks and the water. They would crash, instant death. And that's where they would find them They would find them within hours, people would find them within days. And people would think, well, they took their own lives. They must have jumped. You see, this was Diogo's clever plan, and this is how he avoided detection. And this strategy at first worked pretty well for him. He would soon develop a gang. Maria and him would recruit others including a man named Solero, who would join them. But there was a pattern developing, and this is when witnesses would finally see these horrible events unfold. And they went to the police, and they watched, and they saw it. So they were all arrested. All but Diogo. They couldn't find him. Well, he would be hiding in the aqueducts. He had a false key that let him enter. How he got it, no one knew, but they found him there, hiding like a troll, and they got him and they brought him to jail. And this is how he earned his second nickname, the Aqueduct Murderer. And of course, there would be a trial. And in addition to the bridge murders they would talk about, the testify, witnesses, the police, there were more killings that he did. And one of those was a major crime, was the killing of a family of 4. It was a doctor's family. And there was a star witness who testified against them, an 11-year-old child. It was the daughter of Maria Gertrudes. Yes. So Diogo, Maria, they were found guilty. They were all found guilty. Maria was given a life sentence. She would be sent off in exile to an African colony. But for Diogo it would be death. And Solero too. They would both be hanged, and they would be hanged together. Now, once the execution was finished, out of the shadows came 2 scientists from the Medical Surgical School of Lisbon. They were intrigued with Diogo. They had some ideas, and they were able to convince the authorities to take Diogo's body for science. They wanted to know what's going on in that brain of his. They wondered. Well, they had Diogo's head severed from his body, and they put it in a jar, a large jar of liquid. A jar we can see today. But strangely, they never actually carried out any of their studies, any of their experiments. There were no incisions, there were no dissections, nothing. Diogo's face, skin, skull, everything remained intact. It was almost like, and it was, the hour of his execution, his face preserved for eternity. So to this day, his head is intact, it's totally preserved. No signs of being examined, just preserved in a glass vessel under a solution of formaldehyde. Just look at his face. The liquid is crystal clear and remains so. He looks alive. His face has this relaxed and blank look. You can look into his evil, deep blue eyes. He gives you a look back, a deathly stare. He doesn't look monstrous. He actually looks rather meek, harmless, but apparently looks deceive. It is probably how he was able to gain people's trust. Well, Diogo Alves' severed head is currently in the anatomical theater of the University of Lisbon's Faculty of Medicine in the old medical surgical school. You can go and see it. I hope to see it someday. Some say his head is a reproduction, but as I look close, I don't think so. What do you think? I hope to get to Portugal We will look for Diogo. Where is the rest of his body? May it be at the Cementerio dos Prazeres? We can only wonder.